Hello, great people. Welcome back. How is everyone doing? So, in the last couple of weeks, I've had to answer a couple of people on the requirements on my journey and how I got to Germany and the medical pathway for doctors. So, I figured rather than answer each time individually, I would just make this video and share my experience, share my journey, and answer all those questions right here in this video so I don't have to always respond individually. So it all started in September 2018, when I graduated med school. After that, to be honest, I hadn't quite figured out what I wanted to do or where exactly I wanted to go. I had an idea. As a matter of fact, I had started learning German while I was in med school, towards the end of med school, but I wasn't quite sure. I found it quite overwhelming learning a new language and practicing medicine 6 years of all that in a new language. I found it quite overwhelming, even though I really wanted to learn a new language. So after med school, I remember I was like, okay, Lucy, you have to decide where are you going and get right to it. So I made a list of pros, cons for Ireland, UK, US, Germany, and at the end, Germany sort of won for the following reasons. So I chose Germany because I could select my specialty. I didn't want this surprise factor of, oh, hello, surgery. I didn't want to do surgery, and I didn't want to do, there were other specialties I didn't want to do. And the fact that in Germany you get to go directly into your specialization. So if internal medicine is 5 years or whatever specialty, you go directly into your specialization. So that was like a deciding factor as well. And I reached out to a couple of friends and colleagues who had graduated before me, and they were all here in Germany. So they were able to give me like first-hand info on everything I needed. So the first thing was deciding. Once I decided I'm going to Germany, I said, okay, what do we need to do next? The next thing was applying for the visa, because I am Nigerian and I studied in Romania, so I studied in the EU. Yeah, we required a visa, but to get a visa appointment, you had a couple of documents which you had to submit. The first one was the language admission. So I was applying for a language visa, right? So of course, you need you need a language admission. So I applied to a school in Duisburg. I got the admission, and then I had to translate my medical degree, the diploma, to German. What else did I need? I also needed a proof of sponsorship. At the time, you either had to have a blocked account in Germany, you needed to have a bank in Germany, and put in, at that time it was 7,000 euros. But now it's about 10,000 euros. You needed to block this amount in a bank in Germany, and monthly you would get, I think, 800 or so from the amount. I didn't have, of course, I didn't have the money at all. So that option was cancelled out. The second option was to get a sponsorship letter. It's called the Verpflichtungserklärung. It's basically a sponsorship letter from someone who works in Germany and is able to take care of themselves and also take care of an extra person. So I reached out to a friend without asking questions. She was like, Lucy, come, let's do this. Shout out to Nani. Thank you so much. That helped a great deal. So I got sponsorship letter, the diploma, the language admission. And then you also needed a motivation letter, which basically states why I want to work in Germany, or just a motivation letter. So I had all of those, and then I applied for the visa interview, which was in Bucharest. So I think all of these was around, that was around December of 2018. So I applied to start the language course for March the next year, which was 2019. After that, I got the visa, and on the 1st of March, I was in Germany. It was the first day in Germany, 1st of March 2019. I was so excited, and then I felt overwhelmed. It felt like I had this huge mountain which I was here to conquer. And yeah, I remember I stayed with a friend of mine for some time before finding my own accommodation at the time. And I started with the language school. I did that for 8 months. And after 8 months, so I tell you, you need to be mentally ready if you decide to come to Germany. Mentally prepare yourself, because sometimes the road will get rocky, it will get a bit shaky, but you have to keep going. I remember many times I came back from language school, I was so frustrated because I felt, when do I learn this language? It's so much. When do I do B2? When do I do B1? When do I do the medical exam and all that? So it felt overwhelming many times. I broke down, I cried. But then I had a strong reason why this journey was important, so I couldn't give up. Another thing I would say is make sure you have a strong reason why this journey is important. So when the road gets tough or it gets a bit shaky, the exit door isn't what you're looking for. So I did the language for 8 months, and after that, so the minimum level you need is the B2. You do up onto B2, and then you have to apply for the license, the medical license to practice in Germany, which is called the Approbation. That's how it's called in German. And for that, I needed, so you need like a police report or criminal record, as it's called, from the country which you last stayed in. So I got mine from Romania. You also needed your birth certificate, you needed your medical degree, and then you needed the certificate, the language certificate, the B2 or the C1. Yeah, so I got all these documents ready. I needed to translate and legalize them in German. So you have all of them ready, and then you send them to whatever body or whatever state you decide to do the exam. Take note, everyone's journey is different. I am serious, everyone's journey is different. So make inquiries, go online, search for the state and write Approbation and whatever state, and search for these groups. Search on Facebook. There's some groups that are in specific states where you would like to do the exam. Make your inquiries, but at the end of the day, don't just go to a place because everyone is going there. I remember before sending my documents, I did mine in NRW in Düsseldorf at the time, and most people were like, oh, Düsseldorf takes a long time. Don't go to Düsseldorf, please. Düsseldorf is this. No one passes on the first attempt. It's difficult. It's this, it's that. Everyone had like something negative to say. And I was like, it might be difficult for others, but I would go there and I'll pass, And of course, I gave it my best. I was always praying, for the strength, because sometimes it got really overwhelming. To be honest, after doing the language up onto B2, C1, that's not the end, because in the language schools, you just learn like basic German. You don't really go deeply into medical German and all that. So when language school was done, I still needed like the medical language exam, which you need to pass the medical language exam. No, I needed the medical language lectures or however it's called. So that's something else. I was very blessed. I had like 6 doctors in the language school I attended, so it made it a whole lot easier. They were very nice people, everyone down to earth. They were very easy to relate to, and we were all heading in the same direction. So it was really, really useful, and it was really helpful to have all these people around me. So if you have the opportunity to have people who are going in the same way with you, please do that. Study together, learn together. It's one of the easiest ways, to prepare for the coming exams. So I did all of that with all these people. I did medical German, I would say, by myself, studying with these people, because I couldn't afford the medical language course. It was about 3,000 to 4,000 euros at the time, and it was out of my I couldn't afford it. So We basically, most of us studied together. Some other people went on, they are cheaper courses, actually, they are cheaper courses, but they just weren't enough. The ones we saw at the time were not it. We didn't feel we could learn so much. But there were these major expensive ones where they prepare you specifically for the exams and for like the medical board exam, and they were quite expensive. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this, and Lord, please help me. And He did. So I submitted all my documents, I think in December of 2019. 2019, yeah, right. And then in March of 2020, when Corona came, I got like the email to say, oh, you can go pay for the exams. So I paid for the exam, and then in April, I got 1 week before the exam, they gave me just 1 week notice. I woke up one morning to a lovely email saying, you have the exam on this date. So I had just 1 week to prepare myself, but thank God I had been studying all this while, so it wasn't like starting from afresh or from the very beginning. I just studied, rehearsed, revised everything I had learned up until this point, and I went for the exam. So I had the exam in April. I went for the exam. The exam is called the Fachsprachprüfung. It's in 3 parts. The first part is the doctor-patient conversation, and you have to talk to your patient, you have to take all the data and everything, basically what's wrong, the symptoms, the family history, everything. And then the second part was the documentation. You had to document everything the whole conversation you just had, you had to document it. And then third part was the doctor conversation. I remember it was such a relaxed, I can't even find the words. I felt like I was discussing with my uncle, with someone I was familiar with. It was just very relaxing. And because I learned a huge lesson, maybe I should share that right now. I learned a lesson which I have taken on up until now, and it was the fact that we are all fellow humans, you know. I remember in the past I would have exams and I would always have this panic, you know, when it's a major exam. Oh, what do I do? Mostly when it's an oral exam. But this time, for some reason, a few weeks before the exam, while I was preparing, every day I kept praying, and I'm like, you know what? There is no need to be scared of fellow humans. Like, each time I pray and I talk to God, I'm very relaxed, drinking my cup of juice or something. So when I talk to my fellow humans, or when I have an exam and I have to be in front of people who seem to have all the experience in the world, why should I panic? I started asking myself these questions. Why do you panic when you talk to your fellow humans? And when you talk to God, who has created all these people, you are relaxed. Chill. Everyone is, we are fellow humans. No one is superior to the other. We have experiences, some more than the other, but it doesn't make you like a god or something. So once I was able to break that barrier, right now things have become, I can step into a room and, speak loudly, and not have that fear of, these are experienced doctors. We're all here to learn, by the way. So yeah, back to the story. So I had these examiners, which we talked about America, we talked about the exam. Most people would tell you it's just a language exam, just a test of your language skills. But I tell you, your medical knowledge is also important. So please prepare language-wise and medical-wise as well, or whatever English that is. Prepare both ways. It's better to be over-prepared and then you get there and you're like, oh, was that the exam? Than to go there and be shocked. Because I think I had a patient with signs of acute cholecystitis or so. And from there we talked about, he asked me of the differential diagnosis. I talked about myocardial infarction. He asked me what was my treatment plan, So this is not just language, it's also a test of your how is it called, of your medical knowledge. So also prepare well, I beg you. Yeah, so after the exam and all that, it's a pass fail exam. At the end of that, you either pass or you fail. Of course, thank God I passed. At my first attempt I passed. So that's why I say don't listen to everything everyone says. Do you decide on your own path, go confidently. If it doesn't work out, you have the chance to do it again. It's not the end of the world. So everything I have said up until this point is basically the same for non-EU, for those who studied outside the EU and those who studied in the EU. So after the exam is done, the Fachsprachprüfung, if you studied in the EU, you get your medical license, your permanent medical license directly. If you studied outside the EU, you have to do, so if you studied outside the EU, you would get a temporary, how is it called? A temporary license, medical license, which is valid for 2 years, right? So within these 2 years, so you start working, you're the same with those who worked outside, you start working and all that, but you're working with a temporary permit. It's called the Berufserlaubnis. And then within the 2 years, you have to do an extra exam if you studied outside the EU. It's called the Kenntnisprüfung. So it's the test of your knowledge and all that. So if you pass that, and then you get like the permanent approbation, you get the permanent medical license, basically. That sums up the journey and the process, the requirements and all that. The internet is your friend. Research. These rules change all the time. I just gave my own experience and my own story and my own journey. For everyone, it's different. I would say if I had to give an advice or a tip, I would say just don't give up. Have a strong reason why you want to do this and go through with it. It will get hard, but keep going and set small goals. Don't look at the whole picture, else you would just have panic attacks at every point. Set small achievable goals, monthly, weekly, in 2 months, but don't just try to do the whole thing all at once. Yeah. If you have any other questions, or if there's something you would want me to talk about, let me know in the comments section, and I will see you in the next video.